Today's Monday, March 6th. It's now 6 p.m. and the meeting of the Klein ISD Board of Trustees is now open. Representing the quorum tonight are Ms. Georgianne Reitmeyer, Ms. Kathy Arellano, Mr. Ronnie Anderson, Mr. Steve Zimczak,
Present.
Mr. Rick Mann, and Mr. Steve Smith, and myself, Bill Pilkington. As provided by the Texas Government Code, the Board of Trustees will now go into closed session in accordance with sections 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney regarding all matters as authorized by law, including board governance, 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 551.074, discussing employment, evaluation, or discipline of personnel, including board governance and including superintendent evaluation and contract, 551.076, discussing security personnel and devices, 551.082, discussing disciplinary matters or complaints regarding school children and or school district employees, 551.0821, discussing personally identifiable information about public schools students, 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. The meeting of the Board of Trustees will convene at approximately 7 p.m. May I have your attention, please?
There we go.
Good evening. It's now 7 p.m. and the meeting of the Klein ISD Board of Trustees is now reconvened. If you've not done so already, would you please silence your cell phones? Thank you for joining us tonight. We are a school district of approximately 51,500 students and 6,800 employees. We always appreciate when members of the community come to attend our meetings. You'll note on tonight's agenda, a school district resident, employee, vendor, or potential vendor has an opportunity to address the Board of Trustees for 4 specific purposes. So if anyone in the audience would like to address the board, would you please come forward to Mr. Smith, our secretary. Tonight, Mr. Mann will lead us in prayer, followed by Mr. Sequoia Oyuji, our scout in attendance, will lead us with the pledges of allegiance to the United States flag and to the flag of Texas. Mr. Mann?
Stand, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your blessings on this meeting of the leadership of the Klein ISD. We ask for your guidance to our decisions so that they may be in the best interest of the students, the faculty, the administration, the parents, and the taxpayers of this school district. Father, we thank you for the outstanding opportunities that you provide to each and every one of us daily living in this community, also in this state and in this nation where freedom is the key word in our lives. Father, I would ask that you watch over each and every one here as we leave this evening, and also maintain safe passage to all of our men and women in the armed forces that are in harm's way. Bring each of them home safe and soon. Father, I ask all of these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now please join me in the pledge to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. School board meetings must be conducted in accordance with strict Texas laws. For example, we cannot vote on any item that is not on the agenda. In fact, we may not even publicly discuss any items that did not appear on the agenda. All of our voting must be in public, but we can privately discuss items regarding personnel, the discipline of students, acquisition of school sites, matters of school security, and specific items requiring legal assistance. However, the final vote must be conducted in public. Please understand, this meeting is for the board to have discussion, to deliberate, and to take action. I'd ask you to please refrain from making any comments or public demonstration during the meetings to allow us to focus on the matters before us. Superintendent, in consultation with the board president, prepares the agenda and notice of meetings which are distributed to each trustee 1 week before the Monday night meeting. If any of the individual board members here have questions, they may often call the superintendent prior to the meeting, and therefore many of the items you see tonight we may be moving through quickly because we've already had the opportunity to discuss these with the superintendent. We deeply appreciate the public trust you have bestowed upon us and will continue to work diligently with the school administration on behalf of your children. And we're now ready to proceed with the agenda. We'll begin tonight with the recognition of any current or former Klein ISD students who are present at the meeting tonight. So I'd like to ask any current or former Klein ISD students to please stand. We not only value, thank you, we not only value our current students, but we appreciate it when our former students return to the community as adults. Thank you. Dr. Champion?
Yes, Mr. President, continue with our recognitions tonight. We're thrilled to honor our outstanding students and teachers from Lim Elementary School, Metzler Elementary School, and Ulrich Intermediate School. And we're going to start with Lim Principal Kathy Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Pilkington, members of the board, Dr. Champion, Mrs. Spalding, and guests. Tonight, Mrs. Brown and I have the honor of introducing 2 outstanding LIM students and 1 distinguished teacher. Our first 5th grader that we will be recognizing is Michaela No. Michaela first came to LIM last year as a 4th grader and has shined ever since she walked in the door. She's a straight A student and just recently qualified for Klein's Gifted and Talented program in all subject areas. I have been amazed to see how goal-oriented and driven Michaela has been this school year. Mrs. Ingram, her writing teacher, shared that Michaela is relentless in her academics and continually strives to go deeper and farther with her learning than any other student. When asked about her goals this year that she has set for herself, Michaela set the bar very high in stating that she is going to get a perfect score on the Math Star. I do believe that she can do it. Her star simulated that she took last week, she was 1 off from the perfect score. Michaela even told me that. She said, I know I can do it. So I believe in her, and I know that the school believes in her and her teachers believe in her. Outside of school, Michaela stays active by playing soccer and competing in year-round swimming. When I asked Michaela, how do you keep up with these activities like straight A's, athletics, Michaela just smiles at me and says her family is a huge factor in keeping her motivated and has always supported her in everything that she has done. In attendance with Michaela tonight are her parents, Catherine and Kevin, and siblings, Dakota and Zach Kinsley. If y'all could stand, please. And also family friends, John, Diane, and Hayden. Okay. Our next 5th grader is Luke Johnson. Luke first came to LIM in the 3rd grade. It has been amazing to watch Luke grow and mature over the past 3 years. Miss Foley, Luke's math teacher, stated that Luke is a leader in the classroom. He is an amazing friend to all and shows great compassion towards his peers. Luke does an amazing job of self-advocating for himself and has been relentless towards improving his academics this year. He is highly involved in so many aspects of the school, serving as a member of the running club, Orff Ensemble, Safety Patrol, and always helping with PTO events alongside his parents until the bitter end of each event. Sometimes he just doesn't want to, but he always does help, and he's always asking me, Mr. T, how can I help you out today? I've had the privilege of teaching 3 of the 4 Johnson boys and want to thank their parents for allowing me to be able to watch them grow into such respectful men. It has been such an incredible journey to watch Luke grow from a shy 3rd grader that just wanted to blend into the crowd into a 5th grader that stands out as a leader amongst his classmates and a person that his classmates look towards. In attendance with Luke tonight are his parents, Amber and Steven, along with his brothers, Landon and Travis.
It's my honor to introduce Christina Grant. She's our newly named Teacher of the Year and is a 5th grade science teacher at LIM. Chris grew up in Cape Cod and graduated from St. Joseph's in Maine, and where she always knew she wanted to be a teacher since 2nd grade. She gave up her study hall in high school and went next door and helped out with the kids as well. Lucky for us, she had an aunt and uncle that lived in Austin, and while visiting them, she fell in love with the area, moved to Leander, and began teaching in Hutto and Taylor ISD. Later, she moved to Houston, where she started in Spring ISD and came to LIM 4 years ago. Her classroom is always open for others to observe, and she always concludes with reflections about her practices and answers questions. She has written curriculum for the district, and she shares her lesson plans through Eduphoria and was filmed by the TLC to provide professional development to other teachers in the district. She's recently added the escape room concept to engage her 5th graders. So our students work collaboratively to complete a task. Once they complete those, they flip their answers over and come up with a combination for a lock. If they get the lock undone, in they go to their next activity. The students loved the first day of engagement and could not wait until the next escape day. It's a lot of work, but Friday students were collaborating once again to unlock those locks. Chris loves everything about 5th graders, as you can joke with them, be serious, they have opinions, and they just get it. She supports them by attending their games, concerts, and plays. She's coached robotics this year, providing our 4th and 5th graders with some new competition and experiences. And they're already making plans for next year. She serves on our ambassador committee, NSTA cohort, Visible Learning Leadership Team, and CIDC Vertical PLC committees. She's a leader at the highest level. When asked, what do you enjoy outside? She responded, well, it's really not an issue since I'm a mom, but she likes to play golf, go to the beach, and works a lot with church members at Creek's End. Miss Grant this evening are her son and daughter, Gage and Riley. They both attend Krimmel as an 8th and 7th grader. Her team is also here with her this evening to support her: Donna Foley, Rico Ingram, Megan Rucker, and former student Noah Ingram.
Bring him on up. Don't be afraid.
He's pretty scared.
I ran out of ink writing down all the strong attributes. So Michaela, straight A, huh? I missed one math. Huh? Yeah, well, then what? Once you're perfect, then what? Rick has to work on that all the time. Luke, leadership, passion, running club, safety. 4 brothers. I'm one of 4 brothers. Never have leftovers. Never have leftovers. And Christine, you're a Mainer.
Yes.
Yeah, all the way down here. So this is a time of year you like being in Houston.
Well, I'm a teacher, so I get to go.
Hey, there you go.
It's called a maniac.
4 years at Landon, we're quite happy. We've got a great principal here. Okay, so Michaela, this is for you. And Luke, let's see, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th. We recognize 8th graders too, right?
Sure.
In 3 years, we're going to get Shindelwald.
Yes, sir.
We need to be the 2 that represent Shindelwald in 3 years to get to see you again. All right. Christine, thank you so much for all your service. And Kathy and Mr. Keith, we're going to take a picture, so come on up here. You all face right here. The red box. Okay, went through makeup, right? Take his medicine.
Next up from Metzler Elementary, we have Principal Lakita Combs. Lakita. And Stacy.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Champion, Mrs. Spalding, and guests. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing two outstanding Metzler students. Mrs. Vaglienti, our assistant principal, will introduce our distinguished teacher. First, we have Arish Meridia, a fifth grade student at Metzler. Arish is an outstanding young leader who makes a difference at Metzler Elementary in so many ways. Arish is a straight-A student and maintains all ease in conduct. Not only does he impress us with his academic diligence and commitment, he has great character and is a friend to all students. Arish actively participates in math club, Metzler Safety Patrol, and in our campus spelling bee as our campus spelling bee representative. Outside of school, Arish says he enjoys math. And then he did add in, well, sometimes I'll play basketball and soccer too, but I really enjoy math. His teachers describe him as a gentleman scholar. He stands his ground for what he knows to be right and does so in a measured and respectful manner. He is truly an exemplar of what we hope to see in every student at the completion of their elementary education at Metzler Elementary. Accompanying Arish tonight are his parents, Zahir and Saria Meridia. Please stand. You've done a beautiful job with your son, and we are so grateful that you have given him to us for the past couple of years. Next, we have Colin Van Ramendonk. Colin is another fifth grade student at Metzler. Colin's success is a reflection of his hard work and dedication to learning, which started when he first entered the doors of Metzler as a kindergarten student. He makes excellent grades, all A's. He maintains ease in conduct and has a great sense of humor. I've witnessed Colin's leadership skills through his active participation in our Leadership Academy, our campus spelling bee, and in our math club. Outside of school, Colin enjoys playing football, baseball, and being with friends. His teachers describe him as an ideal student. He has it all: character, curiosity, and the tenacity and grit to embrace new challenges. He is truly an exemplar of what we hope to see in every student at the completion of their elementary education at Metzler Elementary. Accompanying Colin tonight are his parents, Ron and Janie Van Ramendonk, his grandparents, and his brother Grant. Will you please stand? You've done an awesome job with your son, and we are so grateful that you have shared him with us for the past 5 years.
It is with great pride tonight that I introduce to you Ms. Stephanie Bailey, an outstanding second grade teacher at Metzler Elementary. Mrs. Bailey exemplifies the spirit of Metzler through her hard work and dedication. She has served Klein ISD for 4 years as both a wonderful and loving second grade teacher. She served as a member of the CIDC, the Sunshine Committee, and is currently our campus GT liaison. Mrs. Bailey deserves to be recognized tonight because of her passion and intentionality. Her loving ways and kind spirit, along with her dynamic teaching style, Mrs. Stephanie Bailey, a teacher that students will remember with great respect and affection. Accompanying her tonight is her husband, Jared Bailey. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you.
I want to address you both because I think the comments can be directed to you equally well. You guys are involved in a lot of things, both academic and non-academic. Those are great building blocks for the future. You keep doing that and you will do real well in the future. Here we are today, shaking your hand to congratulate you on what you're doing. When you're an adult, I'll be an old man, I'll be an older and it will be an honor to shake your hand as an adult because I know you're going to be so successful. So keep up the good work. Okay, very good. When I think back in my education, the teachers that I remember well are those that either pushed me the hardest but even more importantly, had a passion for teaching and had a real energy level. And in fact, when I was getting my MBA years later, the one professor I remember the most, who was a professor just so excited it would be impossible not to learn from him. So I admire your passion for teaching our kids, and thank you for all you do.
She's so hard. She's so hard.
And then finally, Mr. President, we have from Ulrich Intermediate, Principal Leslie Complin.
Thank you so much to the board, Dr. Champion and Ms. Spalding, and to the community for having us this evening. I have to tell you, I have been looking forward to this for a long time. I've never gotten to do it, and I've really been looking forward to showcasing just a sliver of the amazing talent we have at Ulrich Intermediate School. And I'm going to start that by introducing you to Catherine Huyn. She is one of our amazing 8th grade students. And when I asked her about all the clubs she was involved in, there were so many, and some of them don't even exist anymore. I was floored. And this year we have the privilege of having her serve as our student council president and a member for all 3 years. She also is an exceptional violinist in our orchestra and has participated in CAC, Klein Academic Challenge, all 3 years. I went to her orchestra directors to ask a little bit about her leadership and how she inspires so many students. And what they told me is that she's outstanding. Not only is she a talented musician, but she's always willing to help others. She's just awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And the next student, oh, and with Catherine, I'm so sorry, her mama Hannah and her brothers Richard and Henry. If you guys would please stand. Thank you so much for being here. The next student I'd like to introduce to you is our 8th grade student, Ryan Mullen. Ryan is an extremely important part of our football and our basketball team and has also participated in the Klein Academic Challenge. When I asked Ryan about his favorite parts of being at Ulrich Intermediate, what he told me was he's greatly going to miss all of his coaches, that they are fun and inspiring. So what did I do? I went and found his favorite coach, and I asked, what do you have to say about Ryan? And they told me I only have a minute to tell you all of the things. But he went on and on and on and on, and I said, Coach Ray, it's only supposed to be a minute, and he kept going on. But what he told me is that Ryan is a natural leader. He displays this with his actions on and off of the field. He's self-motivated, and he said he's kind of like having just another coach on the field. He says when he speaks, the other guys, they listen. And he is going to be at a loss without him. Tonight with Ryan is his sister Hannah and his grandmother Crystal and Ward Mullen. And finally, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Colleen Salinas. That's her daughter. She's very excited. Miss Salinas is actually a product of Klein ISD. She graduated from the Klein ISD, and she's been an amazing part of our Bulldog family since 2013, where she started as a student teacher. She is an amazing part of our 7th grade math team and serves as a power math teacher to help our struggling learners. She is one of those teachers that always celebrates growth. At Ulrich Intermediate, we talk about doing whatever it takes to impact student learning, and Miss Salinas does it. She's often seen dancing and singing. In fact, I dared her to come up here and dance and sing for you guys, but she said she wouldn't do it. She is the leader of our parent involvement focus group, an impact team, as well as a member of the student focus group impact team and the behavior RTI impact team. I went and found one of her team members to tell me a little bit more about what it's like to get to work so close with her. And she said she has a true heart for student success and a true interest in ensuring that every single student learns. She has so much positive energy that she was voted this year's Teacher of the Year. With Colleen this evening is her husband, Adam. He's outside with the baby. And her daughter, Ryan, and her other daughter, Charlie.
I'm so excited. Can you talk to me? I'm living here by myself. I'm so excited to be able to give you these honors tonight. My love of fine arts and athletics. And I love to dance. I was so thrilled. And the leadership among the academics is so very, very important. I would love to tell you that I could play the violin, but the tambourine was a challenge. But the love of it is there in your heart, and the leadership is so important. And not only that, but you have a great name, Catherine. And it's even spelled right. And Ryan, athletics is my other heart. And you being so involved athletically and academically is so very, very important in those leadership traits. Miss Salinas, I know you love to dance, and that's amazing. And you are why one of the major reasons that Klein is what it is, because you come back. And not only do you give to your children, you give to all your children. There you go. So
That's right.
I told him to stop growing, but he doesn't listen.
And Mr. President, as Monty Mast makes his way up to the mic, I do want to just celebrate these three principals that we just had up. Leslie, as you know, is in her first year at Ulrich's, doing an amazing job. Great things focused on students and student learning. But Kathy and Lakita both shared, led an hour and a half professional development with other principals and assistant principals and teachers across the district on visible learning. And I just want to publicly say how much I appreciate their excellent leadership in that arena. So I appreciate all three of these excellent school leaders that we had here tonight. And then when you notice, when you walked in after we came out of executive session, your IQ points shot through the roof. That's because we have all of these TMEA honor students and our TMEA honor orchestra students here. We have orchestra teachers, you name it, which means that our IQ points are out of this world. And so I'm going to turn it over to Monty Mast to lead this introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Pilkington and members of the board, Dr. Champion, Mrs. Spalding, and invited guests. March is Music in Our Schools Month, as designated by the National Association for Music Education. So I thank you for the opportunity to recognize some outstanding Klein ISD musicians and educators during the month of March at the board meeting. The first group I would like to recognize this evening is the Klein High School Chamber Orchestra under the direction of Creston Heron and Tanachaya Chanpanaponket. This past fall, they submitted a tape that was selected as the Texas Music Educators Association Honor High School String Orchestra for 2017. This is the equivalent of winning a state championship in an athletic event. They performed in the Lila Cockrell Theater in the San Antonio Convention Center as part of the annual TMEA convention. They're the 36th ensemble to represent Klein ISD at the TMEA convention since 1986. And while Klein ISD has had multiple recipients of the high school full orchestra, honor orchestra, this was the first time in Klein ISD that a high school was named as the honor string orchestra. Here we recognize our students Rosa Sue, Andres Ayerby, Kyle Victor, and Director Creston Heron. If you'll please come up.
Hold on, Mommy, get in and get some more people. Elkie didn't get up there.
Wasn't he the cello player? Was featured on something.
Yeah.
Did a whole big article.
So Monty, that's equivalent of state champs, huh?
Correct.
Holy cow. Hold on, parents. Hold on,
We get more.
stay up, stay up, stay up.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get a photo.
Yeah.
Super easy. You bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
It needs to go on Facebook tonight.
And before going on with the All-State students, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize something that happened over the weekend. The Klein Oak Chamber Orchestra, under the direction of Tanner Ledford and Lacey Thwing, performed at the American String Teachers Association Conference in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and were awarded second place in the high school string orchestra division against invitees from all over the U.S. It was a huge thrill for them to have former Juilliard string faculty member and current head of the strings division at the prestigious Berklee School of Music, David Wallace, tweet out how wonderful their performance was and how proud he was to be an alumnus of Klein Oak High School. Congratulations to Tanner Ledford, Lacey Thwing, and the Klein Oak Chamber Orchestra. Tanner? We've had 19 Klein ISD students earn a spot in a Texas Music Educators Association All-State Ensemble. For a little perspective, nearly 100,000 Texas students start this process with just over 1,700 students selected to perform in one of the 15 ensembles. These students represent less than 1.8% of the students who begin the tryout process and approximately 0.2% of students enrolled in a high school music class. These students began rehearsals in San Antonio on February 8th, culminating with performances throughout the day on Saturday, February 11th, as part of the annual TMEA conference. For the sake of time, when I announce the student and their director, if they would please come up, would the parents please stand and be recognized as well? First is Adam Harrington, French horn from Klein Collins, with Chris Regilla, his band director. Next is Zion Pfizer, drum set from Klein Forest, with percussion director Joseph McMorrin. Zion was first chair All-State Jazz Orchestra on drum set. Next is Jackson Hardman, violin, Klein Forest High School, Mamie Merlacci, director. Next is Savannah Boyd, soprano, from Klein High School. Her director, Heather Sharp, is running a rehearsal right now. Next is Emily Hall, also from Klein High School, director, Heather Sharp. Next is Rebecca Walsh, also a soprano from Klein High School. Next is Rosa Sue, violin, Klein High School, director Creston Heron. Andres Airby, cello, Klein High School, Creston Heron. You may have seen this student featured on CW39, Kyle Victor, cellist from Klein High School, director Creston Heron. Next is Heidi Guevara, alto, Klein Oak High School, Jimmy Kritikos, director. Grace Nardecchia, soprano, Klein Oak High School, Jimmy Kritikos, director. Draven Sheen, bass, Klein Oak High School, Jimmy Kritikos. Alexander Van, also a bass from Klein Oak High School, Jimmy Kritikos. Jason Kim, violin, Klein Oak High School, Tanner Ledford, director. Damian Pavlovic, violin, Klein Oak High School, Tanner Ledford, director. Anisha Roy, violin, Klein Oak High School, Tanner Ledford, director. Gray Tracy, trumpet, Klein Oak High School, director Todd Clearwater. Brandon Allison, contrabass clarinet, Klein Oak High School, Todd Clearwater, director. I don't know if our last one made it. Hannah Yarborough, oboe, Klein Oak High School, director Todd Clearwater. Congratulations to all 19 students and their directors.
Not as tall. Oh, it's not what I wanted. There we go. Is that right? We ought to pull the directors out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can share with me.
Squeeze it out,
Oh, I've got
squeeze it out.
I've downloaded it. But everything over here is 2016. It was hard. I had to go.
Get out of the
Dad, no.
But they were sitting there jumping on it. I was going to keep it.
And the year was 1980. Ronald Reagan became president. The U.S. hockey team beat the Russians. Mr. Sinchek had hair. Mr. Mann didn't. And a young man named Kurt Gilliard came to work for the Klein Independent School District. The last job he would ever have. 37 years. Were we like 5 when you started?
Yeah, right.
So we were privileged enough to have Mr. Gilliard come work for us. Started off as a PE teacher back at Earhart, worked his way up through the schools, becoming assistant principal, moving on, finishing his teaching career there with Klein Oak High School, associate principal, working to principal before 2003, joining the administrative team here in the Human Resources Department, working his way up to associate superintendent. The nicest thing, though, I can actually know about him is something I found out recently, the reason why he wanted to teach. He actually knew, much like our other teachers there, as a young boy, he knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to make sure that every kid had the chance, that any knowledge that he had and he could pass on to the next generation. He wanted to make sure that he had everything he could to enhance their learning. Something that really impressed me, something that he's always lived by. And while we told him that he wasn't able to leave, he flexed his muscles. Well, Mr. Schwarzenegger won. But Kurt, we'd like to give this to you. Thank you for your years of service. Thank you, Bill. If I may say a few words. I really thought all of you guys were here just to, honor me. Congratulations to all of you that were introduced tonight. Bear with me, I'd like to take a few minutes to publicly thank some very special people. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to the members of the board, past and present. Thank you so much for believing in me and honoring me and letting me do this job. I really thank you so much. Ellen Spalding, thank you so much for guiding me and mentoring me and helping me so much with my job. You're just the best. Kathy was my assistant principal at Klein Oak High School, drill team instructor, Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. I want to thank Dr. Champion, who's just going to be a fabulous superintendent, already is. The one thing that impressed me the first time that I ever met Dr. Champion was that he loved kids. And he really, truly wants every child to succeed. And so it's just been a pleasure to work with you these past few months. The cabinet, thank you so much for letting me work with you and bringing me into the team. And Thomas, he didn't want me to do this, but thank you so much for mentoring me. You just did a fabulous job, and you helped me through my early stages as associate superintendent, so thank you so much. I want to thank the members of my HR family. Will you please stand up? LS, Dean, Janice, Rick, and Bruce, please stand. I want to thank you so much. I want to pay Mr. Berry $5 to come, but I really do appreciate it.
You really need 7, but
I'll take care of you. Now I'd like to introduce a legend. Certainly a legend in my life, Mr. Don Black. Will you please stand up?
was a tremendous principal at Greenwood Forest, Earhart Elementary School, Straught, Klein Forest. I owe a debt of gratitude to Don, and it's still hard for me to call him Don. I just call him Mr. Black for giving a kid out of Detroit a chance back in 1980. I appreciate you so much. And by the way, Mr. Black's son, Kerry, is the head basketball coach at Klein Forest, and they just had a fantastic I want to thank my friends and former principals and directors of school administration, Bob Grove, Mr. Don Simi, and Mr. Jim Laminack's here tonight. Jim, please stand up. Jim has incredible wisdom, and I would call him when I was principal at Klein Oak, and he would always help me. But the thing I made sure is I always read policy before I called him, because he'd question me on it. So I thank you so much. Chief Kimberly, who's here, he was my police officer at Klein Oak when I was associate principal there and principal. I appreciate you so much, and you just did a fantastic job for me and made the school a better place for kids. I've been incredibly blessed to be mentored and guided by former Superintendent Dr. Donald R. Collins. Dr. Collins strategically placed me in positions to challenge me professionally. He believed in me, gave me confidence to accomplish great things for our kids, along with talented administrators that I had, teachers, and other staff members. So I owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Collins. Dr. Jim Kane. Dr. Kane, will you please stand up? Has been my great friend, mentor, and probably the best man I know. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for the Klein community and for me personally. You are so tremendous, Dr. Kane, I think they should name a high school. My beautiful and kind daughters, Amy and Rachel. Rachel and Amy, please stand up, please. Keep standing. I want to talk a little bit about you. Stand up, Shane, my son-in-law, and my girlfriend, Sue. Please, you have to stand. You're part of the family, Sue. Amy and Rachel were both Klein High School graduates and stand leaders, and we're in the theater program. It was always fun at my house when I was principal at Klein Oak, and I'd come home and we'd play Klein, and when we would beat them, they sometimes would hide in the bathroom. But I really enjoyed that time. Amy is a former elementary art teacher, graphic designer in Klein ISD, and along with my son-in-law Shane, they are authors of the children's book, The Giant Fish and Jonah, which is available soon. Just a little plug there. Shane is an art teacher at Klein Collins. Shane and Amy have two little boys, Cullen and Grayson. Cullen will be a kindergartner next year in Klein, so I'm excited about that. Rachel's a former missionary and is a current saleswoman for Sewell Infinity. We're building relationships and not selling trucks and cars is their first priority. Sue, my lovely girlfriend, is a pharmaceutical consultant and recruiter, and she's so supportive of me. I appreciate her so much. And finally, I want to thank, you can sit down now, guys. I want to thank the Klein community, parents, for allowing me to serve your students. I have loved it. It's been a love affair for me for 37 years, starting as an elementary PE teacher. Mr. Black was so gracious to hire me. My parents just, I think they wrote him every day and thanked him for hiring me because they worried I wasn't going to get out of the house. But it's been just a blessing, the greatest blessing of my life to serve with Klein ISD. Thank you so much. May God bless.
Kurt is a very strong man, and I appreciate that in so many ways. But you know what's the strongest thing about Kurt, without a doubt, is his heart. And so, Kurt, the heart you brought every day for the students and the staff here in Klein ISD will never be forgotten. So, thank you. Thank you. And as we move on to another recognition, Judy Ramato is going to be moving forward for our alumni recognition.
Jason, will you join me?
Yes, Jason Bailey.
Not sure who put me on the agenda following that.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Kurt and I have been working together for a long time. Dr. Champion, President Pilkington, board members, Ms. Spalding, and guests, I am pleased to provide you with highlights tonight about this month's alumni honoree, Jason Bailey. Jason is a 1984 graduate of Klein Forest High School and works as the Klein ISD tax delinquent tax attorney with the firm Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott, LLC. With Jason tonight, our team members, Donnie Roseman and Elizabeth Wang. Thank you for being here tonight to support Jason. As you will see in tonight's delinquent tax report, Jason and his colleagues worked diligently to keep our tax collection rates well over 97%, which translates into dollars in our budget for student learning. Jason also lends his expertise to the district through his volunteer service. Since 2004, Jason and his firm have supported the Klein ISD Education Foundation through board service and generous donations. Jason joined the Education Foundation as a director in February of 2015, and currently he sits on the executive board. Jason, our greatest hope is that your education in Klein ISD helped to provide your pathway to success. We honor you for your service to Klein ISD and the Education Foundation, and thank you so much for being an awesome Klein ISD alumni. And thank you, Mr. Mann, for recommending Jason as our alumni this month.
My pleasure.
There you go.
Thank you, Jason. Next up, we have our Stand Up for Public Schools Award.
TASB has a program called Stand Up for Texas Public Schools that recognizes businesses and organizations that support public schools in the community. This month's honoree is Fujitsu America, Inc., represented by Patrick Reagan. Fujitsu America understands the importance of partnering with education at all levels. When the Klein ISD Education Foundation took on the task of funding the first ever Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math, or STEAM Express as we like to call it, for the Klein ISD, we called upon Fujitsu to work with us through the product thought process. Patrick and his team reviewed the infrastructure and mobility issues for our year-round traveling classroom and donated $22,000 worth of Fujitsu American products for use by the students of Klein ISD. Fujitsu America is an amazing district and foundation partner, and we are proud that they choose to make a difference every day as they stand up for public education. We honor and thank Fujitsu America, Inc. today for with a Stand Up for Texas Public Schools Award, for always working to help us make our shared vision of every student entering with a promise and exiting with a purpose a reality.
All right, thank you. Okay, I know, let's see, we have our one scout, Mr. Oyuji. Do we have any other scouts also in attendance tonight? If you would, please stand up, tell us your name, your troop, your school, and why you're here tonight, which badge you'd be working for.
My name is Garrett Velewald. I'm in Troop 1333. I go to Klein Oak, and I'm here for the Citizenship and the Community Merit Badge.
My name is Sequoia Oyugi. I am from Troop 1332. I am from Klein Collins, and I'm here tonight to attain both my citizenships in the community and communications.
My name is Cooper Anders, and I'm in Troop 1323, and I'm here to do the Communications Merit Badge.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this point, we're going to take an intermission to allow the audience to meet the Board of Trustees. If you like, you can start lining up here on your right, my left, to meet the trustees tonight. Thank you. Okay, may I have your attention, please? We'll now continue our meeting with our citizen inquiry. Mr. Smith, do we have any inquiries?
I understand we're about to have one. Somebody's filling out a form. Is that true?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
So approximately 20 minutes of each regular board meeting is allocated to citizen inquiries. After registering with our board secretary, a school district resident, employee, or vendor or potential vendor shall have the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees for 4 specific purposes as dictated by state laws that govern open meetings. 1, to discuss an item that appears on the agenda. 2, to make a request for specific factual information. 3, to ask for a recitation of existing policy. And 4, to redress grievances. In accordance with the law, no deliberation, discussion, or decision will be made other than to consider a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting, unless the subject is listed on a board agenda, in which case it may be discussed by the board. Factual information only in regard to a citizen inquiry may be shared at any point by the superintendent. A written response will be provided. Oral comments are limited to 5 minutes in length, unless extended by a majority of the trustees, and must not mention any individuals by name or position or contain any personally identifiable reference. Are we ready for our inquiry? Thank you. Okay. You can speak now.
Thank you for allowing me my inquiry. My name is Aaron McLeod. I represent Pathways to Greatness. We are a potential vendor with Klein ISD. The question that I just had is part of our due diligence in developing a relationship with the school district. We wanted to understand what are some of the challenges that the school district is finding with working with the students, specifically with STAR preparation, as well as any of the issues associated with just performance in general of the students. We are a tutoring and test prep organization. We work with students one-on-one. We do it online and face-to-face. And so, again, we're just trying to understand a little bit more about the district so that we can make sure that if we are awarded to be a vendor, that we can develop a customized solution for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will send a written to this address here.
Thank
you. Okay. So now we'll continue our meeting with our reports. We will start with the report on the collection of delinquent taxes from our very own alum.
That's right. We have a famous alumnus here to do our presentation. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Jason Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Champion, Mrs. Spalding, distinguished guests, and the wall people out here, what they're called. Thank y'all once again for taking time out of Klein ISD's busy schedule for allowing me to come and talk to y'all about delinquent taxes. I want to go over real quick that the 2015 was the most current tax year that has been turned over to our firm for collection of taxes. And January 1st is the day in which the appraisal district is supposed to set the value for all of the property within Klein for the 2015 tax year. They work through their process. Eventually, through corrections and protests, they're going to have an appraisal roll, and that's going to go to Mr. Petrick in the tax office, and they're going to start setting the budget and to determine the tax rate y'all are going to set and what Klein ISD needs financially in order to teach the students. And in October 5th, 2015, y'all went through that process and the original tax bills were mailed. Klein assessed $219,499,246 for property taxes for the 2015 tax year. That was the base property tax amount. People began to pay those taxes and your tax officers began to work and collect that money. Before I go any further, let me tell you, I want to thank y'all for having the tax office you have. The people in there are excellent. Ms. Wayner, Cindy, and all of them we work with, we all work with them on a daily basis. And not only they help us do the job that we do, they do an excellent job with your constituents and helping the people of Klein work through any issues they have with the tax process. So thank you all for having such a great tax office. But they did a real good job. They began collecting all those taxes. Everybody that was paid was not delinquent unless if they paid before February 1st. Everybody after February 1st was delinquent. And that's when penalties and interest due Klein begin to accrue. Penalties start at 6% on February 1. They go up 1% per month until July. They skip an extra percent and max out at 12%. And that's the penalty that Klein receives if people do not pay their taxes on time. Klein also receives interest at 1% per month. It goes up 1% each month for infinity until the taxes are paid. In May of 2016, the tax office sent notices to all the other people who had not paid by that date, saying in addition to the penalties and interest that Klein ISD will receive if the taxes aren't paid on time, there'll be a penalty to defer the cost of collection of 20%, and that goes to our firm. And then on July 1st, everybody whose taxes had not been paid for the 2015 were turned over to our firm for collection for the first time. As you can see, your excellent tax office did too good of a job. They were 98.35% of all base taxes had already been collected. All the numbers I'm going to talk to tonight are going to be base taxes. We collect a tax. We collect your base tax, the penalties that go to the district, the interest that goes to the district, and our collection penalty. Y'all get all the taxes, your penalties and interest, and then we get our collection penalty. So we're at no cost to the school district for our services. That cost is borne by the delinquent taxpayer that necessitates us to go out there and get them to pay their taxes. So Klein turned over $3,615,904 in base taxes to us. And so we began our process. We get an update. It's going to show my age because I'm an old alumni, not a taped update anymore. We get electronic through that internet stuff, and we get the update. We run a parallel tax roll with y'all, and we begin, first of all, sending out a letter, but most importantly, what nobody else does in our business, making outgoing phone calls, whether email, phone contact, any way to contact these people to get them to pay their taxes. And once that process starts, we started in July. So what have we done over these first 8 months on the 2015 tax year? This pie chart represents that $3,615,904 that turned over to us. The green is what we've collected. We've collected 59% of your base taxes, a little over $2.1 million. I know what you're saying. Great, Jason, but what about the other $1,484,141 you haven't collected? We've broken that down into 5 basic groups. Your first one at the top is base taxes are deferred. These are individuals, it's their homestead. They're either over 65 or disabled. They are allowed by the legislature to defer their taxes to be paid at a later date. Neither nor our office nor the tax office can do anything to collect those taxes. They're kind of protected until a later date. You have over 163,000 or 5% of your roll is in bankruptcy. They've gone to the federal court, either individuals or businesses. They declared bankruptcy. We represent the district at no cost for bankruptcy. We file claims. Once they get into the federal court, we can't pursue litigation or any other collection activities except in the federal court. And we monitor those payment plans and make sure they get done or get the bankruptcy dismissed. You have a little over 400,000 that are in litigation. These people have had an opportunity to pay either by letter, phone call, email, social media. We look every way we can to find them. So you can rest assured that before we do file litigation on someone, they've had an opportunity to pay and to deal with it before it goes into litigation. The next one is a little off. It says there's $111,480 in payment plans. Those really are payment plans on people's homesteads. Last legislative session, they mandated homestead payment plans. Your tax office has done a great job. As you know, there's some businesses, especially in the oil patch, have had some rough times. I know of one account they're working with, it's now a land account. They've got them already to take care of their business personal property. It's over $200,000 in taxes they are working with on a regular basis. Along with your tax office, we're making sure they're keeping up with those payment plans and doing it. So there's really a lot more in a payment plan, but it just goes to show how well your tax office and we work with the individuals to get it paid. So that leaves about $592,000 in base taxes that I haven't collected. They aren't deferred. They aren't in bankruptcy and not in litigation or payment plan, but we'll continue to work on those. This next slide represents the 2015 total assessment. As I said earlier, y'all assessed over $219 million in taxes. Since the tax office did their job, we've had 8 months to work on the 2015 taxes. As of February, this district is 99.3% of all base taxes have been collected by this district, leaving less than 0.7% outstanding remaining that I will continue to work on. This just goes to show that Klein does everything it can to collect every possible dollar before they would ask any of the citizens for any other additional funding. But it just goes to show there's just that little sliver left, but we're going to keep working at it for you. Since nobody can ever get enough delinquent tax collection statistics, this is some old years. This is the 2014 year. There was a little over $3 million turned over to us on July 1st, 2015. The first bar is the first year. We had you at 64.5% collected. After 1 year and 8 months, we're at 75.9% of all the taxes turned over to us has been collected. 2013 year, after 2 years and 8 months, we are at 79% of all base taxes that have been turned over to us have collected, of the little over 2.7 million that were turned over to us. The 2012 year, after 3 years and 8 months, we are at 85.3% of all the taxes that were turned over to us we have collected. And what this shows is we continue to work it. Even though a new year and new taxes, we call it fresh meat, is handed over as we get to go chase these new people down, we continue to work the harder to collect older years to make sure that we're continuing to get every penny we can for the district. Another service we provide is audits. As y'all know all too well, there's probably very few things that are more complicated than school financing in the state of Texas. We know that you have state funding and you have your ability to collect from local property taxes. What can happen is your ability to collect your local property taxes can change because of suits against the appraisal district changes in value. You can have more value added, but if you have less value taken away, then the state should have put in more money originally. And so what we do is work with the tax office to Mr. Petrick's office to audit the tax years. We get 3 chances to audit a tax year. The first one, the 2012 audit one that we put in, we mentioned it last year at this time, but we hadn't filed it yet. We have filed it. It's pending the TEA. It's projected to bring an additional $1.4 million in state funding. We also have submitted the 2013 audit, the first one that we found that was in the school district's favor, and that's projected to be another $1.3 million in additional state funding. Mr. Petrick knows not to spend that money. It's still going through the TEA process, and it takes us a long while to get them to approve it and eventually get it to you, but we're working through those audits. We continue to audit those years and other years as they come up. File them when it's beneficial to the district. Don't file them when it's not beneficial to the district, but we'll continue to do the audit work for you. Once again, thank you all for having me. Thanks for recognizing me as an alumni tonight. Very honored. I can't do nearly as good of a speech as they did, but I do appreciate it, and I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have. Yes, sir.
I noticed the green and gold Klein Force theme of colors that you had running through your graphics. Very deliberate.
Yes, it is, because now that Mr. Dr. Kane is gone, I can say it's the best high school in Klein. Anything else?
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Jason.
Next, our audit committee chairperson will report to us regarding the audit committee meeting that was held earlier.
Thank you, Mr. President. The audit committee met at 5 p.m. today, and one of the key things on the agenda. One of the key things on the agenda was to select a firm for being the external auditors for the 2016-17 year, and we'll have an action item later in the evening to vote on that. That's a very highly confidential and tightly controlled process, and so I've just been handed the envelope of the winner. The winner is Acme Approximate Accountants, LLC. That doesn't look right. Mr. Mayor, this is very embarrassing. No, the real winner is Weaver and Tidwell LLP. You know, if you guys hadn't been tweeting the pictures of those lovely award winners tonight, this wouldn't have happened. Weaver and Tidwell, formerly known as Hereford, Lynch, Sellers, and Kirkham, have been our external auditors for several years and have done an outstanding job for us. And so we reviewed their engagement letter tonight. The fees expended for the 2015-16 audit year were $76,600, and that will be increased to $78,900 for the audit year 2016-17. The audit of the district's basic financial statements and supplementary information in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards will include tests of the district's accounting records and other procedures necessary to enable the firm to express an opinion. The audit is scheduled to begin this month and expected that the annual financial report, CAFR, and single audit report will be presented in December. The audit committee also received an update on the department and campus audits from Ms. Duran, the district director of internal audit. All audits that were planned for the 2016 annual audit plan have been completed or are in progress, and a review of the 2017 plan was conducted. So you'll note, as I said earlier, that later an action item will appear on the board's agenda in regard to retaining Weaver and Tidwell as external auditors for 2016-17. And the committee recommends approval of that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, the Board of Trustees will now conduct the first reading of the proposed modification to local board policies, CE, annual operating budget, and CW naming facilities. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Moving on to action items. The first item for consideration and approval are proposed modifications to local board policy, FFA, student welfare, wellness, and health services. The first reading was conducted February 13th, 2017. May I have a motion?
I so move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have the approval of the district's recommendation for the 2017-18 school calendar, which are presented in your supporting documents as Calendar B, Bravo. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is the approval of the annual renewable 2-year contract with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott LLP for the collection of delinquent taxes, penalties, and interest. May I have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the approval of the continuation of bid number 17244 DIR purchases blanket agreement with approval for superintendent to sign agreements. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Now consider for approval the schematic design and design development of 2017 Hildebrandt kitchen remodel. May I have a motion?
Make that motion?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. Go get some more texts. The next item is the education affiliation agreement between the Department of Veterans Affairs and a non-VA healthcare facility or agency with authority for superintendent to negotiate and execute the agreement. May I have a motion?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have the approval and construction documents of the Northcrest Ag Facility. May I have a motion?
Make that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item for consideration of contract award for 2017 facilities renovation project for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, the approval of the amendment to the Northampton Utility Agreement for the Northcrest Ag Facility. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. So moving on to the consent agenda, are there any items that you wish to remove from the consent agenda? Begin with you, Ms. Retmer.
None.
Ms. Romano? Mr. Anderson?
None.
Mr. Simzek?
No?
Mr.
No.
Mann?
No.
Mr. Smith? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and move with the consent. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We're now ready to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on February 13th, 2017, and minutes of a special meeting held on February 22nd, 2017. May I have a motion?
That's moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Looking forward to the calendar review. Please note the following. The district will be on spring break next week, 13th through the 17th. Don't forget the NSBA conference coming up on March 25th and 26th. And one last reminder, there's a board workshop on strategic planning scheduled for April 3rd at 6 p.m., which will be held at the Multipurpose Center building. We'll now move on to comments. Start with Ms. Reitmeyer.
I'd like to make comment to the Strategic Planning Committee. I attended the first one, and I'm so encouraged with the depth of it and the diversity of the committee itself and their comments about what they're looking forward to or what challenge they're looking forward to in working through this plan. Everyone seems very invested.
Ilana.
I was just real excited that athletics has done so well, especially in basketball. And Klein Forest did an amazing job this past weekend.
So proud of them.
Absolutely.
Yep, very proud of Klein Forest basketball team and the hard work. I mean, it's very hard to get to that deep in the playoffs. No team gets there accidentally. And I mean, they have to earn every one of those points to get to that depth. So just real proud of them.
Mr. Simchak.
So compliments to the Lamb and Metzler and Ulrich schools and principals and the students that were recognized and teachers. And also to Mr. Mast and all those involved in the music awards. These awards, and there's probably others, FFA is another, perhaps one-act plays. These kids only get one shot for their championship. It's not a 20-game season like basketball or baseball or a 10-game season like football. So they give it all they got for that one day, and they really have to bring their A game. So that's quite a feat for the district to have accomplished that. And the second thing is, I'd like just to contrast the youth that we saw in the early part of the presentations, the children and the young teachers being recognized, full of energy, and then with Mr. Droulard's recognition and some of his guests that represent the Klein ISD from years ago, and the wisdom that has been imparted from those people onto those that are teaching today. And it's kind of a visualization or a metaphor for our mission for kids to come in with a promise and to leave with a purpose. And I think we saw that tonight. So kudos to the district.
Thank you. Mr. Mann.
I'd like to make two thank yous. One to Klein Forest, obviously I don't think, Darby, we've never had a number one in the state basketball team that I'm aware of for that long, and to stay 34-0 was just a phenomenal accomplishment for those young men, and the turmoil that they had within their team at the end of the year, but holding through that. Everybody said about mid-year that it was going to be the state championship would be held in Dallas instead of in San Antonio because of Skyline and Forest. And I think we saw the state championship. I'd be very surprised if anybody other than Skyline wins the state this year. I think it was tremendous on behalf of Klein Forest. And so my compliments out to Kerry Black and his whole staff and the team. Secondly, I'd like to thank Mr. Smith for setting me up to be fired as the auditor for the district for handing him the wrong envelope. And thank you.
I would just, excuse me, echo everybody's comments. I think it's a real good meeting, and it was just really encouraging. Of course, we appreciate athletics, but it was really encouraging to see all the fine arts performers here tonight. They just do a fantastic job, and that's one of the things that makes this district so great.
Mr. Pilkington, before we move on with you and Dr. Champion, I would like to comment on Mr. Drouillard. The first time I ever attended a meeting here was when my oldest daughter was recognized in one of these recognitions we saw tonight. She was student council president at Klein Oak during the time that Mr. Drouillard was principal. And even to this day, she graduated in '99, she still speaks highly of the impact that both he and his staff had on her. And I know some of the other kids weren't so easy to have in your school, but we do appreciate you taking all 6 of them. And we had 18 years in a row of a Klein Oak kid. And had you been there all 18 years, you'd have no hair. Thank you.
Wanted to make sure that you saw the posters that are behind us. It's our new visualization of the board adopted shared vision for Klein ISD, and Mr. Simzak, I appreciate you bringing that forward, that notion of students in Klein ISD entering with a promise and exiting with a purpose. To Ms. Reitmeyer's comment, I would say we had a great second meeting with the strategic planning as well, and you tasked us with pushing the envelope a bit with our next plan, and that we're really not about doing the same thing a little bit better, but we're really about what does the future look like, and what is it we need to do with this. And I can tell you, this room full of dedicated community members and employees, they are very interested in intriguing solutions, meeting the needs of every student, recognizing that our students are coming to us with a variety of needs, and how we approach that will be a little more non-traditional than what we have seen in the past. And so I am very excited to be working on that charge.
Can I make an additional comment?
Please.
Just while we have the chance, while Kurt's here, since he won't be at the next one, just as a board member, just continue to thank him for what all he's done for us, for me, explaining a lot of complex HR issues and making them seem so easy the way he deals with them. And over the years, just the things that he's been able to accomplish with our staff, and just all the rules and guidelines around HR, and to deal with such a kind of complex and personal issues with so many people and positions, to do it with the integrity that he did it with, says a lot, and will be very big shoes for someone to fill as they come along. And on a personal level, just great to get to know you, and get to know your daughters are not here. Get to know your daughters through you, and how much you love them, and how proud you are of them, and the kind of values you poured into them, and how they were poured into you from your folks over the years. So just thank you for the way you've blessed our school district.
Can I say something?
You're welcome.
I have to tell a story. When I first became a principal, Kurt hired me. And I was scared because I was in a new position with a new venue. And he knew how stressed I was because I was a crazy perfectionist. And one day he came to me and he said, "You know, Kathy, I've got a plan." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, now, okay, what's the plan?" And he said, "I'm going to take Chance to the movies, and you're going to go have your nails done." And he did that. And Chance, to this day, still remembers, and that was like in 2003. And he actually gave me a day off. And I will never forget that. And never forget that he hired me, and that we had many, many times when I really, really relied on him leading. And he always did. And he always came through. And I appreciate that. Yeah. So I appreciate that.
This is a woman who struck fear in all those who walked through the halls at Klein Oak. She's telling us that she was afraid.
Well, then truth comes out.
No, it's just so many more things. That's just one more thing to talk about what Kurt has done. Just I know I always saw all the dedication you gave, putting the district first above yourself. So I mean, we wish you well on your next journey. We appreciate for all the time you've been here. And I know a lot of times these meetings we have different things, different presentations, different things that go over. But I really enjoyed the first half of the meeting so much more. And while we try to move things along, if it's going to be for presenting awards, presenting things to the kids, I mean, I'll stay later for that. I mean, last month we gave the guys a reprieve to get out, but we just the students. Just it's amazing the things they do here. Just I'm just every day something else comes up. I mean, with Klein Forest, just totally awesome. Just everything else for the students there. Just the well-rounded that we have of them, going from the orchestra, going from, and then even our finance department. But just makes me even more proud to be here. Well, if there's no objections, it's now 8:45 p.m. and this meeting's adjourned.